Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Terry Fletcher.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the WTF podcast, Steel City Underground. My name is Terry Fletcher. So we are in week 16, if you can believe it, one more week left. And boy, was this a weekend of football. First of all, one of the things that I don't know how you feel about it, but we finally got a 10 a.m. California, 1 p.m. Pennsylvania time game on a Sunday. How long has it been? 5 weeks? So for me, that was a huge WTF moment. Just finally a normal game. But let's talk around the league, and then I'll come back to the Steeler game because I'm still reeling from it. And I have to tell you, and I'm sure most of you feel this way, you know, having a win and that early in the morning, or I should say that early in the day for you, and then being able to continue to watch football all day is something. Because when we lose early, I don't want to watch any more football. It's just not fun anymore. But what's been going on around the league? So many WTFs. First of all, let's talk about the Rams. So the Seahawks won their game. I wasn't really surprised. But Jared Goff, their quarterback for the Rams, he hits another player, defender's helmet who's coming at him. And it looked like he dislocated his thumb and he snapped it back on the sideline and then continued in the game. He broke it and had surgery this week. So that's definitely going to hurt them if they going into week 17. And it's on his throwing arm, or on his throwing hand. So that's a problem. But here's a big WTF. And, you know, everyone that continues to say every time a player gets dumped by a team, it seems like, and I know that a lot of people refer to Steeler fans that are on the East Coast as yinsers. I don't know what they refer to us on the West Coast because there's a lot of us out here. But the one thing that I noticed is that everybody wants to pick up those leftovers, pick up those players that have been dropped. People, there's a reason that they've been dropped. Now, it's great when you can, get a player that you're making a trade for. I mean, think of Minka, think of Stephon Diggs. Look what he's doing. And there are definitely some players that once they're traded, they have a better outlook in the situation that they're in. But players who are released, there's usually a reason. So who was released that was a surprise this week? Well, Washington football team, Dwayne Haskins, he was their backup or their first round pick quarterback. And basically, he was the one that was in why Alex Smith has been hurt, really hurt. And now they hope to get him back. But they just basically said, screw it. We just need to get rid of him. He was terminated. Now, remember what this guy has done besides play terrible. He snuck a girl in the middle of what was called minicamp this year and snuck a girl in the hotel, which he wasn't supposed to. He went to a strip bar after one of their wins, the last one I think it was, without a mask, which I find funny that people actually add that without a mask at the end. Dude, why are you breaking protocol and going anywhere publicly when you are supposed to be focused on the game? And what are you, James Harden? Seriously, you win one game and now it's time to go bar hopping and especially strip bars. But here's the thing about that, and here's my WTF moment. Remember, their coach, Ron Rivera, he just completed chemo at 5 times a week for lymph node cancer of the neck. And so he's a high-risk individual. And you are going to twice break protocol for COVID during this whole season with not having any regard for your coach. WTF, dude, what are you doing? And so everybody's like, oh, we should get Haskins. I even saw Mark Colby say that. We don't need Antonio Brown 2.0 at quarterback. So please stop saying that. It makes me so frustrated when I see everybody on Twitter going, oh, let's get Haskins. Let's get this. I'm like, stop. Nobody needs another discipline problem. I'm getting tired of it. So just stop with that. Now, one of the WTF moments that actually was pretty funny, if you are a Steeler fan and you are not a Patriots fan, this was awesome. So I was kind of trying to channel an inner Patriots fan so they beat the Bills on Monday Night Football. Yeah, it wasn't happening. The Bills clobbered them 38-9. But the WTF funny moment on this was when Bill Belichick, he threw out the red challenge flag saying that a player stepped out, and he clearly didn't. He was standing right there. Well, somebody upstairs on his headset told him to throw out the challenge flag. We were like, even the announcers are like, dude, what are you doing? Well, then we get a shot of him going back to the phone and basically taking it off, screaming at somebody and throwing the receiver and throwing a tantrum. And it was quite amusing to me. It just reminds me of when we're on the phone with the cable company and they were supposed to be there at 8 and they're not there yet. And it's like 3:00 in the afternoon. Yeah. He was basically throwing a temper tantrum. And I don't know, I got some personal kind of, I don't know. I liked that a little bit. What can I say? I'm not a fan of going in that direction of New England. So they're out of the playoffs and they just deserve to be out of the playoffs. So anyway, he can go fishing now. Now, here's another one, and I think some of you will find this, well, kind of funny and kind of not funny. So I bring up the fantasy football every week and did not do well this year. Probably the worst year I've had. I'm in 3 leagues. In my league, I am ending 6th, and I call it my money league because it's more of a buy-in for that one. And I didn't even make the playoffs for that one. We have 14 teams. And then in my subdivision of the Money League, I think I won the consolation to get 9th or something. So yeah, I'm not excited about that. And of course, the week that I'm not able to play or not allowed to play, because of that, I score over 200 points. Yeah, whatever. But here's the funny thing. Here's the WTF moment on New Orleans. So Drew Brees, his son, who is teenage years, so he's like between 11 and 13, he plays in a fantasy league. Well, Drew was talking on Good Morning Football and said something to the effect that, yeah, my son won his fantasy league when Alvin Kamara had his 6 touchdowns and scored over 55 points. And I'm like, wait. Your son is in a fantasy league where they allowed him to draft Alvin Kamara, where you control how many times that player sees the ball? That's just wrong. Can you imagine going, Dad, give the ball to Alvin Kamara. Just keep giving it to him because I need him to win for my fantasy. So for those of you that lost in Drew Brees' son's fantasy league, you deserve the loss. WTF, what are you doing? So you need to say no. You cannot have one of your dad's players. That's ridiculous. So when I heard that, I was like, wait. Now the Chiefs, they did win their game. So obviously they're going to be number 1 seed. They're 14-1, but all the headlines were that the Chiefs laid an egg. We didn't get to watch the game if you're a Steeler fan because it's on at the same time, but I did record it just because I want to go back and take a look. It was not good. All game, they were down. They finally pulled ahead 17-14, and then the Pro Bowl kicker, Koo, he missed it in the last seconds, and so that's why they won. But it was really showing that they're either tired or they just think that they can come back at any point. But when they weren't doing anything in the fourth quarter just to kind of being lackadaisical, I think their biggest problem is going to be the Bills, honestly. So hopefully we don't have to see them until the championship game, but it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. The Bengals beat the Titans, and now they're 4-10-1 and 4-11. If you haven't seen it yet, go look at that viral video that T.J Watt made. Just basically went on a rant about people not doing their job and how it is a privilege in the NFL to play. It was, it's something that everybody should be watching because he really just laid it out there as far as anybody who has a job, anybody that realizes what a privilege it is. He goes, they pay us buckets of money to do our jobs, and if you can't do it, then you shouldn't be here. And he really went on a rant, but it made like all social media, it made LinkedIn, it made every kind of place that wasn't even sports related. So take a look at that. The Browns, now they lost to the Jets 23-16, but they also didn't have any wide receivers because of contact tracing. Their entire wide receiver room ended up on the COVID reserve list. So WTF to them. But we needed them to, we really felt bad for them. So we needed the Jets to beat them. They did. And so if they don't beat us on Sunday, then they're going to be out of the playoffs. They had an opportunity. It was an opportunity to finally get in the playoffs after how many years? So I feel a little bad for them. Not really bad, but a little bad for them. Now in the Green Bay Titans game, again, a side judge, number 18, I'm going to call it the side judge's number, missed a step out by Jones at the 50, and he ran to the 6-yard line. The judge was right there. He was watching him right there. No call. And then, of course, the next play was a touchdown. I'm noticing, and I rant about the refs all the time. I know Brian does too, and occasionally Joe. But, they stink. And they're worse than the replacement refs. And they are making game-changing decisions that are costing people jobs. And so either get some good refs or get rid of replay altogether. If you're going to do replay, why are you making such a terrible call? It's just crazy to me that they're allowing some of these calls. It doesn't even make sense to me. Now, the Miami Raiders game, the Raiders are eliminated. Miami started Tua, which they're going to continue to do that apparently. And then they brought Fitzpatrick in, and they win with a no-look pass by Fitz, plus his face mask was pulled to the side for the win in the last 11 seconds. And just the look on John Gruden's face was like, you've got to be kidding me. They completed the pass. Somebody was pulling his mask. He was turning his head. Even Patrick Mahomes put on his Twitter feed, he's like, best no-look pass ever. But then he and the guy caught it, but then they also get the 15-yard penalty. So immediately they're in field goal position. But they won by a point, and the Raiders are now out of it. So this is the time of year where it's just crazy and what's going on. So let me get to my Steelers. And, your Steelers, my Steelers, our Steelers. I don't know about you guys, but after our 3-game skid and our 5 games of playing let's just put it out there, crap, it was bad. So that's as profane as we're allowed to get on our podcast without getting called out. But it was bad. And they came out flat again, 3 and outs. It was not good. Now, because we had some opportunities in that game, we've got some things working. But here's when I'm having a really hard time with our team. And this is my WTF to Randy Fichtner. It's the most unimaginable offense on the planet. We're still doing these short passes. You see Phillip Rivers out there throwing long, and we know that Tomlin wants to do that. We know Ben wants to do that. The blitzing is not working, and the calls, there was actually 5 holding calls on T.J. Watt that were not called. And the one around the neck I have a video of. I mean, he's going to have to yell help before he can even get a call on a holding call. And just the fact that the coach Tomlin, and who I love, did not call timeout with over a minute left in the half and let the Colts run the ball that time off the clock, that was that was unacceptable to me. I just really don't understand how he can continue to do that. So he has to be aware at some point it's about the coaching. And I remember on a couple of times he said, I don't care what people say about me coaching. Well, coach, it's also on you. So you need to really be clock watchful. Otherwise you're going to have not just fans, but let's face it, we're going to have a real tough time if we can't manage that clock. Now the second half of the game, great. Second half of the game, the offensive line finally gave Ben the time he needed to go no huddle. Receivers actually started catching balls, and we got Connor back, which was huge. And you realize his impact over Snell. He can run up the gut and run up the middle like Snell can't. And it's crazy to me what he can do there. But when you see those 50-yard passes from Ben, he did one to Deontay Johnson. His pass to Juju between 2 defenders, from the far hashtag to the near sidelines. That was the best for the go-ahead score I think I've ever seen. And these plays don't happen if your arm or elbow hurts. Let's face it. He's drawing up plays in the dirt. Juju has said that Ben started pulling plays out of his back pocket that they never even practiced. So why do we have Randy Fichtner? He double pumps to throw the safety off, and it's just epic when we see what he can do. But one of the things that is a notable return was Vince Williams. He and Avery Williamson playing alongside each other. And remember, Vince came off the COVID list, so he had the green dot, and he had to have oxygen on the side because he hadn't been playing for a couple of weeks. But also, think about Williamson, underrated player. He had 14 tackles and a sack, just A+. When Spillane and Marcus Allen return, now we have options going into the playoffs. But you have to keep your eye on those guys because it's crazy. And let's look at under the radar. T.J. Watt, well, he's a Watt and likely, defensive player of the year. When you look at him, he has more sacks at 15 this season than the entire Tennessee Titans roster. I mean, he is an absolute animal. But one of the players that I think really made a statement in this game is Tuitt. Stephon Tuitt, our linebacker, third down sack of Rivers on first drive of second, and then he forced a field goal, and the momentum just switched back to us. It switched back to Steelers at that point. It rattled the Colts because they didn't do anything after that. And, 12 minutes left at 24-21, we got the ball back. And after the Cam Hayward sack and a drive for the game-winning touchdown, it was just awesome because even Highsmith stepped up the pressure on Rivers all game and forced that interception. And so it really was a team effort. And it was just the best thing I've ever seen in the second half. I mean, I was so excited to see Ben with his no huddle, but so disappointed that we could have had over a minute left in the first half, and Tomlin did not call that timeout. And luckily we won because I listened to his post presser and nobody asked him about that. Coach, why didn't you, call timeout there? And he usually would have some Tomlinism on that, but he didn't get asked the question. Joe Hayden did get beat a couple of times, and so he's going to have to clean that up. And then if we have to use Wright as our backup kicker, if Boswell isn't ready to go, hearing Tomlin say that his 45 yards is his range is a little concerning. And really, Steven Nelson needs to not get tangled up in his own feet. But one of the best things in the post pressers was Ben's post presser when Mark Holby, and I always pick on him because he's negative, one of the media guys, he was called out for bad talk against Ben. He goes, so Ben, how do you feel doing this and that and the win with all what they're saying out there? He's like, oh, they're saying something? I don't really listen to it. Yeah, Mark, don't say anything bad about me. And I was like, there you go. So it was just kind of funny to me. But here's something that is interesting when it comes to the rules of protocol. So we found out today that Tomlin was talked to about the dancing or the TikTok afterward, where Juju and all the wide receivers and tight ends got together. I don't think Vance McDonald was in it, but they were basically doing one of those, celebratory dances, which they deserve to do. But guys, pull your masks up. And of course, the video went streaming and he heard about it. So this could cost, draft picks. This is going to be a fine. And we just can't afford that right now. So keep in protocol. I think Juju should be able to dance and all that, but do it under protocol. Do it, responsibly. Otherwise, it gets people in trouble. And then lastly, we're on to Cleveland. Okay. We're on to Cleveland. It was announced today that Ben is not going to start, that Mason Rudolph is going to start. And the only thing I can say about this game is the fact that Myles Garrett, after what he did to Mason Rudolph with the helmet, last year, and then we want to knock Cleveland out of the playoffs. And for Mason to be able to do that would be great. I'm not sure I'm seeing that happening if everybody comes back for Cleveland. And I really would like to win this game. Everybody says, oh, well, it doesn't matter. We should definitely rest Ben. It does matter. If we win and beat Cleveland and the Bills lose to Miami, which could happen, they've got some momentum, we take over second, not third. And so I'm surprised that they're not at least going to give Ben the opportunity to start and see where we're at, maybe get ahead. But he'll be available if things, don't look good. And he's like, hey, coach, give me an opportunity. Hopefully he's not inactive because I still would like to get a win. I don't like, stopping the momentum when you finally get that win after a 3-game skid. To me, that's a big WTF, but we'll see what happens on that. All right, everybody. So that's a wrap for our WTF Week 16. Join me for Week 17 next week. And I hope we get a win. I hope we can kick out some people out of the playoffs and on to Cleveland. So everyone, make it a great day. Make it a great week. And I'll talk to you next time on the WTF Steel City Underground podcast.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.